The holographic council chamber stretched impossibly wide, a crystalline amphitheater that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Suspended in the center, a massive star map pulsed with living light, tracking the movements of civilizations that had long since forgotten Earth's existence. Captain Alina Rodriguez stood motionless, her dark eyes reflecting the shifting cosmic tableau, her presence as unremarkable as the planet she represented. Around her, the delegates of the Galactic Confederation moved like exotic creatures. The Zorans, silicon-based entities that looked like living crystal sculptures, shifted and refracted light with each minute movement. Nearby, the gaseous Nephiri swirled in contained atmospheric chambers, their translucent bodies creating mesmerizing patterns of color and motion. The Krell representatives looked like living mountains of metallic exoskeleton, each movement accompanied by a low, grinding resonance that vibrated through the chamber. And then there was Earth's seat. It wasn't just empty. It was a statement of cosmic irrelevance. Positioned at the absolute periphery of the grand chamber, the seat was smaller than all others, its materials noticeably less refined. Where other delegation platforms sparkled with advanced holographic interfaces and neural connection ports, Earth's platform was a simple carbon fiber chair with a basic communication terminal that looked like a relic from a primitive technological age. Alina knew exactly what the other species thought of humanity. To them, humans were a curiosal blip, a young species barely capable of interstellar travel, let alone significant galactic diplomacy. They saw humans as children playing with technologies they barely understood, confined to a single solar system, with no real understanding of the complex political and technological ecosystems that govern the known universe. If they only knew. Her fingers brushed against a nearly invisible communication device embedded in her neural link. Years of careful preparation, of silent observation, of building networks that existed entirely outside the Confederation's awareness. All of it was about to change everything. The current discussion centered on the expanding threat from the void regions, a mysterious area of space where entire star systems had begun to vanish without explanation. The Nephiri representative, a swirling mass of azure and silver gases, was presenting complex mathematical models that predicted further system collapses. The Zoran delegation countered with their own predictive algorithms, their crystalline bodies creating intricate light patterns that represented potential defensive strategies. Not a single delegate looked at the Earth seat. Alina allowed herself the briefest of smiles. Let them ignore her. Let them continue believing humanity was insignificant. The less they knew, the more devastating their eventual surprise would be. Her neural link subtly pulsed. A message from Dr. Marcus Chen back on Earth. Their latest adaptive encryption protocol had successfully penetrated the Confederation's most secure communication networks. With each passing moment, humanity was gathering intelligence, understanding vulnerabilities, preparing responses that no one could anticipate. The Galactic Confederation believed in their superiority. They saw themselves as the ultimate arbiters of technological and diplomatic progress. Centuries of interstellar relationships had made them complacent, certain of their understanding of the universe's hierarchies. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. As the diplomatic session droned on, Alina Rodriguez remained perfectly still. To the other delegates, she was just another forgettable human representative. But behind her calm exterior, a storm was brewing. A storm that would soon reshape everything they thought they knew about humanity's place in the cosmos. The empty seat would not remain empty much longer. Beneath the Rocky Mountains, 5 kilometers underground, the true heart of humanity's evolution beat with a rhythm no alien civilization could comprehend. The Prometheus complex was more than a research facility. It was the crucible where human potential was being reforged, reshaped, and refined into something utterly unprecedented. Dr. Marcus Chen stood before a massive holographic display, his fingers dancing across quantum interfaces that seemed to anticipate his movements. Around him, hundreds of researchers worked in perfect synchronization, each team pushing the boundaries of what it meant to be human. The Neural Interface Project was his masterpiece. What began as rudimentary brain-computer connections had evolved into something far more sophisticated. These weren't simple implants or augmentations. They were adaptive symbiotic systems that could fundamentally reshape human cognitive potential. Each interface was a living network, learning, growing, anticipating human needs before they could even be consciously formed. Adaptive response sequence at 97.3% efficiency, murmured Dr. Aisha Nakamura, her eyes fixed on a series of rapidly changing data streams. The project had long since moved beyond traditional research parameters. They weren't just developing technology. They were engineering a species-wide transformation. In the genetic modification wing, another revolution was taking shape. Human DNA was being rewritten with a precision that would have been impossible mere decades ago. Researchers had discovered how to activate dormant genetic potential, unlocking capabilities that had been lying hidden within human genetic code for millennia. Radiation resistance, enhanced cognitive processing, accelerated healing, adaptive immune responses that could react to threats before they even fully materialized. But it wasn't just about individual enhancement. The true genius lay in the interconnectedness of their work. Each breakthrough in neural interfaces informed genetic research. Each genetic modification suggested new possibilities for technological integration. The Prometheus complex wasn't just a research facility. It was a living, breathing organism of human potential. Marcus Chen's latest project pushed even those boundaries. The Adaptive Response Protocol, or ARP, was a quantum computing system that could predict complex scenarios with terrifying accuracy. It wasn't just about processing power. The system could learn, adapt, and generate entirely new problem-solving approaches in milliseconds. "We're not preparing for a potential conflict," Marcus told his team during their daily briefing. "We're ensuring our survival, and potentially the survival of life itself." The team understood the weight of those words. They had seen the data. The cosmic threats gathering at the edges of human understanding were more complex and dangerous than the Galactic Confederation could imagine. The void regions weren't just a mysterious phenomenon. They were a potential extinction-level threat that could consume entire civilizations, and humanity would not be caught unprepared. In a secure laboratory deep within the complex, a breakthrough was about to change everything. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's intelligence gathering had revealed critical vulnerabilities in alien communication networks. The neural interface team had developed a communication protocol that could not just intercept, but fundamentally understand and predict communication patterns across different species. It was more than technology. It was a kind of universal translation that went beyond language, a way of understanding the very fundamental communication structures of different civilizations. "We're creating a Rosetta Stone for galactic communication," Marcus explained to a small group of senior researchers. But it's more than translation. It's about understanding the underlying thought processes, the fundamental ways different species perceive reality. Outside the complex, the world continued as normal. Billions of humans went about their daily lives, completely unaware of the quiet revolution happening beneath their feet. They didn't know that their species was being fundamentally redesigned, prepared for challenges that most couldn't even comprehend. The empty seat in the Galactic Confederation was about to become the most important diplomatic position in the known universe. The Proxima conflict erupted like a supernova of destruction, its tendrils of chaos spreading across 3 star systems with terrifying speed. The Nephiri, a species of sentient gas-based life forms, had finally reached their breaking point with the silicon-based Krell, whose expansionist policies had threatened the delicate ecological balance of the Proxima sector. Massive battleships, each the size of small moons, hurled quantum-charged weapons at each other. Entire planetary ecosystems became collateral damage. Billions of lives hung in the balance, their fate determined by centuries of accumulated hatred and territorial disputes. In the command center of the Nephiri flagship Luminous Tempest, Admiral K'Sitl watched the battle unfold with a mixture of rage and desperation. Crystalline tendrils of his gaseous form flickered with electromagnetic pulses of anger. The Krell had pushed too far this time, and no diplomatic channel remained open. "Prepare full-spectrum annihilation protocols," he commanded, his voice a cascade of harmonic frequencies that would have been incomprehensible to human ears. Simultaneously, on the Krell mothership Granite Fist, War Master Zernak activated their most devastating weapon systems. Massive gravitational disruptors charged, capable of collapsing entire star systems into singularities. The silicon-based lifeform's crystalline structure pulsed with cold, calculative rage. No one saw the transmission coming. It appeared first as a subtle perturbation in the communication matrices, a series of quantum-encrypted packets that seemed to emerge from nowhere and everywhere simultaneously. The encryption was unlike anything either species had encountered. It wasn't just a code to be cracked, but a living, adaptive communication protocol that seemed to understand the fundamental conflict better than the combatants themselves. Dr. Marcus Chen watched from the Prometheus complex, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. The adaptive response protocol was doing more than just intervening. It was rewriting the very language of conflict. The transmission broke through every defensive barrier, appearing simultaneously on every communication channel of both species. It wasn't a message in any traditional sense. It was a comprehensive analysis of the conflict, presented with such mathematical precision and emotional neutrality that it was impossible to ignore. The protocol broke down the territorial disputes, economic pressures, and historical grievances that had led to the conflict. But it did more than just present facts. It proposed solutions that respected the fundamental needs of both species, revealing compromise points that neither side had previously considered. More incredibly, the transmission demonstrated the catastrophic consequences of continued conflict, not just in terms of immediate casualties, but in the long-term genetic, ecological, and civilizational impacts. It showed potential future scenarios with such devastating clarity that both species found themselves frozen in shock. Admiral Xitl felt something unprecedented, a complete recalibration of his understanding of the conflict. The transmission wasn't just analyzing the war. It was revealing the true nature of their dispute in a way that stripped away centuries of accumulated hatred. On the Krell mothership, War Master Zernak experienced an equivalent moment of profound revelation. The communication protocol had somehow accessed and analyzed centuries of historical data, presenting a path forward that preserved the core interests of both species. Weapons powered down. Communication channels, previously filled with destructive intent, now hummed with a different kind of energy. The Proxima conflict, which moments ago seemed destined to consume multiple star systems, simply stopped. In the Prometheus complex, Dr. Chen allowed himself the briefest of smiles. Humanity's first true intervention in galactic affairs was complete, and no one knew it came from Earth. The empty seat in the Galactic Confederation would remain empty a while longer. But not for much longer. The Galactic Confederation's surveillance network was supposed to be impenetrable, a web of quantum-entangled sensors, advanced AI monitoring systems, and predictive algorithms that could track the movement of a single electron across multiple star systems. Yet something was happening that defied every technological assumption they had ever made. Every probe sent to investigate Earth simply disappeared. Dr. Liana Rodriguez, Alina's younger sister and the Confederation's most brilliant cryptographic analyst, sat in her observation station, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that showed nothing but cascading walls of static and impossible data patterns. Each attempted surveillance mission met the same fate: complete and total electronic obfuscation. "It's not just encryption," she muttered to her team of alien and human researchers. "This is something else entirely." The disappeared probes weren't destroyed. They weren't hacked. They simply ceased to exist in any meaningful way that current technology could detect. When the Zoran technical teams tried to backtrack the signal, they found themselves confronted with adaptive communication matrices that rewrote themselves faster than quantum computers could process. On the Zoran homeworld, the Grand Computational Council went into emergency session. Their lead researcher, a crystalline entity named Prexel, projected holographic representations of the impossible data they had collected. Each projection showed the same impossible scenario. Earth was creating technological ghosts, digital mirages that consumed surveillance attempts like some kind of information predator. What the Zorans didn't know was that the Prometheus complex had developed something far beyond traditional cybersecurity. The Adaptive Camouflage Protocol, or ACP, was a living technological ecosystem that was more organic than mechanical. It didn't just defend against intrusion. It actively consumed and repurposed surveillance attempts. Every probe that approached Earth was immediately integrated into a massive distributed intelligence network. Its components were broken down, analyzed, and then reconstructed into something entirely new. The probes didn't just disappear, they became part of humanity's growing technological immune system. In the underground research facilities, Dr. Marcus Chen watched the global defense network expand. What had started as a defensive technology was becoming something far more complex. The ACP was learning, evolving, developing predictive capabilities that went beyond anything the Galactic Confederation could comprehend. "We're not just defending," Marcus explained to a small group of senior researchers. "We're creating a living technological organism that can anticipate threats before they even form." The whispers began to spread through diplomatic backchannels. Something was different about humanity. Something was changing. The Neferi were the first to notice the broader implications. Their vast computational networks, which had always been able to track and predict technological developments across multiple species, suddenly found themselves encountering blind spots whenever they tried to analyze Earth. It was as if humanity had developed a technological cloaking device that worked on an entire planetary scale. What made it more terrifying was the subtlety. These weren't crude blocking mechanisms or simple encryption protocols. This was a fundamentally different approach to technological defense, one that seemed to understand and manipulate the very fabric of information itself. Deep within the Prometheus complex, the next phase of human technological evolution was taking shape. The Adaptive Camouflage Protocol was more than a defense system. It was becoming a new form of collective intelligence, a technological organism that viewed the entire galaxy as its potential ecosystem. The empty seat in the Galactic Confederation continued to sit unused. But now, it was beginning to attract curious glances. Something was happening on Earth, something that no one could quite understand. And that something was about to change everything. The Great Nexus threat materialized without warning, a cosmic anomaly that defied every known law of astrophysics. It began as a pinprick of absolute darkness in the Ophiuchus sector, a point where space itself seemed to fold, twist, and consume everything in its path. Star systems began to vanish, not explode, not collapse, but simply disappear as if they had never existed. The Galactic Confederation's most advanced early warning systems lit up like dying supernovas. Trillions of computational cores worked simultaneously, trying to understand the impossible phenomenon that was consuming entire sectors of space with terrifying efficiency. Admiral Quetzal of the Neferi stood before the Confederation's Emergency War Council, his gaseous form crackling with electromagnetic tension. "We are looking at a potential extinction-level event," he proclaimed, his voice a symphony of harmonic frequencies that carried the weight of impending doom. The holographic displays showed the Nexus threat's progression, a mathematically precise consumption of spacetime that made no sense to any known scientific understanding. It consumed star systems like a hungry predator, leaving nothing behind. No radiation, no debris, just an absolute void that seemed to devour reality itself. Conventional defense strategies crumbled like wet paper. The Krell proposed massive gravitational disruption weapons. The Zorans suggested quantum entanglement barriers. Each proposal was more desperate than the last, each solution becoming more ridiculous as the Nexus threat continued its relentless advance. No one noticed the subtle changes happening on Earth. In the Prometheus complex, Dr. Marcus Chen and Captain Elena Rodriguez worked with a team that had been preparing for this moment for decades. The quantum-entangled defense platforms weren't just a technological marvel. They were a living, adaptive network that represented the culmination of humanity's most advanced research. Quantum Resonance Network at 98.7% synchronization, announced Dr. Aisha Nakamura, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that seemed to breathe with living intelligence. The defense platforms were unlike anything the Galactic Confederation had ever seen. They weren't fixed positions. They weren't even traditional technological constructs. Each platform was a complex adaptive system that could predict, analyze, and respond to the Nexus threat on a level that went beyond traditional computational thinking. As the threat approached known space, humanity's defense network began to take shape. Quantum-entangled platforms materialized seemingly from nowhere, creating a complex web of defensive capabilities that defied traditional understanding of physics and technology. Captain Elena Rodriguez stepped forward during the Emergency Confederation meeting, her presentation a masterpiece of technological brilliance that left the alien delegates speechless. The defense system wasn't just about stopping the Nexus threat. It was about understanding it. Each platform was a massive data collection point, analyzing the anomaly's fundamental structure, breaking down its impossible physics, and developing counter-strategies in real time. "We're not just defending," Elena explained, her voice calm and precise. "We're learning. We're adapting." The Nexus threat met humanity's defense network and found itself confronted with something it couldn't consume. The quantum platforms didn't just block the anomaly. They began to analyze it, to understand it, to potentially neutralize it at a fundamental level that no other civilization had even conceived. Entire star systems watched in awe as the impossible happened. The Nexus threat, a cosmic horror that had consumed countless civilizations, began to slow, to hesitate, to be understood. The empty seat in the Galactic Confederation was about to become the most important diplomatic position in the known universe. Humanity had just shown the galaxy that they were far more than anyone had ever imagined. The revelation came like a quantum shockwave through the Galactic Confederation. Dr. Lyra Chen, no relation to Marcus, but equally brilliant, had been tasked with the impossible, analyzing the data collected from humanity's defense against the Nexus threat. Her research team represented the most advanced minds from a dozen different alien civilizations, each bringing their most sophisticated analytical techniques. What they discovered terrified them beyond comprehension. Humanity hadn't just defended against the cosmic threat. They had systematically dissected it. The quantum-entangled defense platforms were more than weapons or shields. They were the most advanced research instruments ever conceived. Each platform was a living, learning entity that collected and processed information at a rate that made the Confederation's most advanced supercomputers look like primitive counting devices. The truly horrifying part was the depth of preparation. Buried within the data streams were evidence of decades, perhaps centuries, of calculated research. Humanity had been studying every major galactic civilization with a precision that bordered on obsessive. Their files contained detailed psychological profiles, technological vulnerabilities, communication pattern analyses, and predictive models that could anticipate entire civilization-level responses with terrifying accuracy. The Neferi communication networks, completely mapped, their biological weaknesses cataloged down to the molecular level. The Krell's technological infrastructure, analyzed so thoroughly that humans could predict system failures before the Krell themselves could detect potential issues. Zoran information systems. Humanity had developed encryption-breaking algorithms that could penetrate their most secure networks in microseconds. It wasn't just intelligence gathering. It was a comprehensive, multi-generational study of how to understand, predict, and, if necessary, neutralize any potential threat. They'd been preparing for something, Admiral Kizitl muttered during a closed-door Confederation meeting, his gaseous form flickering with unprecedented anxiety. But preparing for what? The answer was both more simple and more complex than anyone could imagine. Dr. Lyra Chen's final report revealed the most shocking discovery. Humanity's research wasn't about domination. It wasn't about conquest. It was about survival, not just of their own species, but of the potential for life itself. The quantum platforms that had neutralized the Nexus threat were more than defensive weapons. They were the first stage of a cosmic immune system. Humanity had essentially developed a technological framework that could identify, understand, and neutralize existential threats to life in the universe. Each piece of collected data, each analyzed vulnerability, each predictive model was part of a larger, almost organic network of understanding. They weren't just collecting information. They were creating a living database of cosmic survival strategies. The research went beyond military or technological capabilities. Humanity had developed deep psychological profiles that revealed the fundamental motivations of different species. They understood the complex interplay of cultural, biological, and technological factors that drove civilizational behavior. More importantly, they had developed technologies that could communicate across these fundamental differences. The communication protocols used during the Proxima conflict weren't just translation devices. They were empathy engines, technologies that could truly understand the core needs and fears of different species. They've been watching, learning, preparing, whispered War Master Zernak, the silicon-based Krell leader whose crystalline structure now seemed to vibrate with a mix of fear and reluctant admiration. The empty seat in the Galactic Confederation was no longer just a diplomatic oversight. It was a calculated choice. Humanity had been observing, understanding, preparing, building a comprehensive understanding of galactic dynamics that no other civilization had even conceived possible. They weren't just a species preparing for potential conflict. They were architects of cosmic survival. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The Galactic Confederation's central chamber had never known such silence. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood at the epicenter of a moment that would redefine galactic politics forever. Her presentation, a meticulously crafted exposition of humanity's capabilities, motivations, and potential, hung in the air like a living hologram, each detail more stunning than the last. Gone was the small, overlooked chair that had once symbolized humanity's insignificance. Instead, Elena commanded the central platform, her presence radiating a quiet, calculated power that made the most advanced alien civilizations shift uncomfortably. The Neferi delegation, once the most vocal and politically dominant species in the Confederation, found themselves reduced to a swirling mass of uncertainty. Admiral Ksatel, who had once dismissed humanity as a minor species, now listened with a mixture of terror and grudging respect. The Krell representatives, their massive silicon-based forms, typically immovable and stoic, showed the first signs of genuine emotional response any of them had witnessed in centuries. War Master Zernak's crystalline structure actually trembled, a response so unprecedented that it sent ripples of shock through the entire chamber. "We are not here to conquer," Elena explained, her voice carrying a precision that cut through millennia of galactic political maneuvering. "We are here to ensure survival." The data she presented was irrefutable. Humanity had not just studied the Galactic Confederation. They had developed comprehensive survival strategies for every major species. Technological vulnerabilities, biological weaknesses, cultural blind spots, all meticulously analyzed and, more importantly, protected against. The quantum-entangled defense platforms that had neutralized the Nexus threat were revealed to be just the beginning. Humanity had developed a cosmic immune system that could identify and neutralize existential threats before they could fully form. Political power structures began to crumble in real time. The Zoran information networks, once considered the most advanced in the galaxy, were now revealed to be comprehensively understood and potentially controllable by human technologies. Their elaborate encryption systems looked like child's play compared to the adaptive communication protocols humanity had developed. Dr. Lyra Chen stepped forward, presenting a series of collaborative research proposals that were less an offer and more a new paradigm of galactic cooperation. Each proposal demonstrated how humanity's technological capabilities could be used to address long-standing challenges facing different species. planetary ecological restoration, communication breakthrough technologies, predictive threat analysis that could save entire civilizations. The Confederation's power structure wasn't just shifting. It was being completely reimagined. "We are offering partnership," Elena continued, "not conquest. Our research has shown that the greatest threat to any civilization is not external conflict, but the inability to adapt, to understand, to grow." The most shocking revelation came in the final moments of her presentation. Humanity had been developing technologies that could help each species overcome their fundamental evolutionary limitations. For the Neferi, atmospheric stabilization technologies that would expand their habitable zones. For the Krell, quantum adaptive cellular replication techniques that could extend their technological lifespans. It was more than diplomacy. It was a comprehensive approach to species-level survival. Diplomatic requests began flooding Earth's communication arrays. Species that had once ignored humanity now desperately sought alliance and understanding. Captain Rodriguez, once a marginalized representative, had become the most sought-after strategist in the known universe. Earth's seat was no longer empty. It was the focal point around which galactic politics would now revolve. The greatest transformation in galactic history was just beginning. Deep within the Prometheus complex, beyond the quantum research laboratories and the adaptive technology centers, there existed a chamber known only to a select few. Dr. Marcus Chen stood before a holographic projection that represented something far beyond any single civilization's comprehension. The true purpose of humanity's decades of preparation was about to be revealed. What began as a defensive strategy had evolved into something profound. A cosmic preservation protocol that went beyond the survival of any single species. The technologies developed, the strategies created, the understanding gained. All of it served a purpose larger than anyone could have imagined. Dr. Aisha Nakamura's final research compilation told a story of extraordinary potential. Humanity had discovered something fundamental about the universe, a pattern of cyclical cosmic threats that recurring civilizations had failed to recognize. The Nexus threat was not an isolated incident, but part of a larger, more complex cosmic cycle of destruction and potential. "We are not just a species," Marcus explained to the assembled team of researchers and diplomatic representatives. "We are a bridge, a preservation mechanism for the potential of life itself." The quantum-entangled defense platforms were more than just technological marvels. They were the first stage of a cosmic immune system, a way to identify, understand, and potentially neutralize existential threats that cycled through the universe with terrifying regularity. Each piece of collected data represented a fragment of a larger understanding. The psychological profiles of different species, the technological vulnerabilities, the communication pattern analyses. All of it was part of a comprehensive database designed to preserve the potential for intelligent life. Captain Elena Rodriguez unveiled the most shocking aspect of their research. Humanity had discovered evidence of previous civilizations, entire species and technological ecosystems that had been completely erased by cosmic phenomena. Their technologies, their knowledge, their very existence wiped away, as if they had never been. The Prometheus complex was humanity's answer to that cosmic erasure. "We are creating a living archive," Elena told the assembled representatives of the Galactic Confederation. "Not just of information, but of potential, of possibility." The technologies developed were more than defensive mechanisms. They were adaptive preservation protocols that could potentially rescue and integrate the knowledge of entire species facing extinction. The communication technologies that had resolved the Proxima conflict were actually sophisticated preservation engines, ways to understand and potentially save the core essence of a civilization. Dr. Lyra Chen's final analysis revealed the most profound discovery. The human genome itself had been subtly modified to serve as a kind of cosmic seed bank, a biological and technological reservoir that could potentially restart or preserve the essence of intelligent life if faced with total extinction. The quantum platforms were living, adaptive research instruments. Each platform was continuously collecting, analyzing, and understanding the fundamental patterns of existence. They were watching, learning, preparing. "We are not conquerors," Marcus explained. "We are guardians." The assembled alien representatives began to understand the true magnitude of humanity's purpose. This wasn't about galactic dominance or territorial expansion. This was about something far more fundamental: the preservation of the potential for life and intelligence in a universe that seemed designed to erase complexity. As stellar winds whispered across endless cosmic distances, one truth became crystal clear. Humanity had transformed from a seemingly insignificant species to the potential saviors of cosmic potential. The empty seat was no longer empty, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Epilogue. In the vast, silent spaces between stars, something was watching, learning, preparing, preserving.